He puts a lot of emphasis on the power of words, and he talks about how like the 3 words that he like literally will almost drop him to the floor if he hears a coach say them are stop, nope, or no. He was like, if someone's doing a drill, you don't tell them to stop. That's such a jarring like word, right? Where you're like, you freeze, like, oh my God, like, am I gonna hurt myself or someone else? Like it's kind of like, it's almost like a damaging word. Like it paralyzes them, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, bring it back. Like, all right, that's good. Bring it back. Like you can bring them back without stopping them.
Totally.
Like, you know, you can have them do a deadlift and be like, all right, let's reset. Like, like if they're rounding their back, you don't have to be like, no, no, don't do it. Yeah. Like, you know, or if they're looking, especially dealing with like young athletes, they're looking for that approval, and you can't be like, nope.
Yeah.
Like, nope, that wasn't it. You'd be like, all right, good. Like now let's focus on this piece of it, right? And I've really started putting so much value in my words, and I'll ask him questions like, I said, you know, I'm really noticing I use the word now a lot. Like, I don't know if that's, you know, I'll be like, I don't know if that's significant. You know, I'll say all the time, I'll tell almost after every drill, this isn't conscious. This is just, I've observed this, right? I'll say, all right, good. Bring it back. Now, on this one, what I want to think about is this. Like, now let's do this. Yeah. And I asked him, I'm like, is now an okay word? I was like, is it kind of like dismissive of what he did before? He's like, and he thought about it. He was like, no, I use now. He's like, I actually think it's a good word because it brings people into the present, and it's not, and it gets you focusing on what's next. Yeah. He's like, so he's like, that's okay. Like, don't worry about that so much. And you know, but you know, the other day he grabbed me. He was like, you can't PR somebody, and he walked away. And I was like, of course you can't. And he was like, and then I was like, yeah, of course you can. What do you mean? He was like, that's something you need to cut out of your vocabulary. And I like all of a sudden came crashing down. And I was like, oh my God, I say that? Like, because think about the definition, like personal record. You can't personal record someone else.
Yeah.
It's their record. Like, you don't want to, like, as a coach, we have to be careful not to own other people's success. Like, yeah, like we're a part of that, but they'll appreciate us for that. Yeah. Like that's their, like they own that credit, and we need to give them all that credit. And like you know, it'll come back around for sure, because you know they'll know who's getting them there, but also like it will always come around. But like you kind of, even as coaches, we kind of sometimes get caught up in what we do for others and not what we're helping them do for themselves. But the ownership's on them. Like those 2 girls you had today, like the ownership's on them going down and back on their farmer's walk. And what I really loved was at the end of the class, you were like, you did this. Yeah. You know, like, and I heard you say that, you were like, you did this. And like next week, you know, man, if you could go, you know, X amount more, this a lit's different, like that's a great next step for you to do. And like, and I really appreciate about your dialogue with that. And I think that, that's been a very interesting change for me, is examining those words and kind of becoming more self-examining. And it's kind of I've even now observed whenever one of my athletes says something I really like, I repeat myself. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, good, yep. Like, that's it. And I'm almost like starting to annoy myself because I'm like getting on my own nerves.
I tend to draw up my yeahs when I see something I like. I'm like, yeah. Like, what? Yeah. And then you find, like, I'm sure you've had this before, like your clients start to like mock you, like for fun, like it's like, yeah, like,
and you end up loving it because you know they're engaged, and so you look back at them and you're like, oh yeah. It becomes like a bro conversation.
Words are important. Oh man, that's so true. I remember like early on, I would say nope sometimes, like nope, okay, back it up. I would say nope and then back it up versus saying, all right, that was good. That was good. So now let's look at this, like saying the now.
Exactly.
I was like, you did a great job with the back piece. Looks awesome. The neck's very neutral. Look really good. Let's look at the knees now. And then they're like, okay, yeah, let's look at the knees. But yeah, I've caught myself doing that, and I'm like, I need to reel it back, son. It's not just my gratification. It's just for them to feel amazing. I think it's so important. Words hold so much meaning, and they can be interpreted in so many different ways. And people can interpret it as, it's like, oh, he's an asshole. Or someone's like, oh, yeah, I need that. Like, who knows? But I think it's being conscious and mindful and what's in the best interest for the person that you're, like, helping. And I think that's hard to do as a coach, because you're just like, well...
Right, and like, yeah, and Matt talks about how coaching is really like, 30% science and 70% art, because, what I always say is that, like, science is repeatable, explainable, predictable.
Yeah.
And what's the least repeatable, explainable, predictable thing is a person, is a human being. Yeah. And so what we know to be, physics or biomechanics or the nervous system, anatomy, and biophysics, and all these like different fields, like what we know is repeatable, it's explainable, it's predictable, doesn't mean that the person you're talking to is going to be textbook, because they don't hear what you say, right? It's not what you say, it's what they hear. Yep. And what I'm discovering there's so many arguments out there about like for example, in Olympic lifting, like to say jump or not to jump. And it's really irrelevant, because it's not about like whether the person's supposed to jump or not. It's about if it makes them do what you want them to do. Because one person might jump and they might literally explode their hips through the bar, make bar body contact, pull back, slap under, boom, perfect. Yeah. Yep, buddy, that's jump. Yeah. Or another person, you might say jump, and like they like bunny hop and they donkey kick and they fall forward, and like, all right, that's not the one we want. But like, in the name of coaching, and I know you're gonna find this, I know you're gonna agree on this, I'll say stuff that I never would say. Like, I don't even mean, because I've tried all the other things that really work, and I just start saying ridiculous stuff that has nothing to do with what we're doing, and it works. Yeah. Like, not anything I would ever write in a book. Because...
Oh, so true. Actually, yeah.
Yeah, like think about like a hip hinge. Yeah. Like, or a deadlift, and you're like, oh, push your butt back, and they just can't do it, and I'm like, bend over. And they keep a flat back.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And they'll keep a flat back, and it'll look perfect. And I'm like,
yes.
And it'll be like, and then I'll try and like redirect them and be like, what you did there
was
perfect. But don't tell other people to bend over. like
bend over.
I try and like name things like position 1, 2, and 3, and once I get them there, I'm like, that's position 2.
Okay.
Remember it. Consolidate it. So now when I say position 2, this is where we have to go, so that I get everybody eventually on the same language, and I don't have to cue it. So I don't have to keep saying like, oh, more of this, more of that. I'm just like, more position 2.
Yeah.
Like, so we don't have to say bend over again. But you know what I mean? Like, you would never tell someone to hip hinge with bend over.
That's true.
But why? Why? Because it's just what they needed to hear. Yeah.
That's true,
and that's art. Like,
that's true.
Like, that's crafty.
That's very crafty. I've had to say some silly stuff. I've had to say booty bump.
Yeah.
Booty bump someone behind you. They're like, oh. Like, what? That doesn't make sense.
Another one, the one that Lauren tells me not to say that I used for her was like, the one thing I couldn't get her to do was thoracically extend so I told her high beams. I was like, flash your high beams. I was like, high beams, and all of a sudden it went boom,
and she got it.
And I was like, high beams.
That works.
I try not to use that with too many of my other female clients, but I mean, whatever.
I've had to say, show off your chest. It works.
Try high beams. Flash them beams.
Yep. Hey, man, like, it's like the whole thing. Sometimes I'll hear myself repeat a cue and it's not connecting. I'm like, get tight. I'm like, no,
Don't you get it?
It's not working. It's not working at all. So actually something I did that was weird today, like in the name of being weird, is I was having the girls do pen lay rows, and one girl was hiking.
Just a bent over row, just claimed by somebody.
And she was hiking her hips so high, right? And so her butt was like higher than her shoulders.
Oh, wow.
It was really weird. And I think she just wasn't getting enough ham engagement, and she was like shaky at that position. Yeah. And she just wasn't familiar with mechanics. Yeah. And so I was like, all right, Nithya, stop. Watch Sarah. and then I want you to watch for a few things. Watch your shoulders, watch your knees, and I want you to make sure that they're not doing these 3 things. And Sarah's like, okay, cool. Like, I can do this. Now Nithya's watching me. I got to be on my game. So she gets on her game. She's doing it. I'm like, all right, so Sarah, Nithya, I'm going to watch this. You watch this. We're watching it together. We're both being coaches. So now she knows, she feels empowered. And just from her watching Sarah, not even saying anything, Sarah, like, boom, got even more perfect. And I was like, okay, Sarah, watch Nithya. I didn't say anything to Nithya. I didn't say anything. I was like, Sarah, I just want you to watch this. And she was watching, and then Nithya just got it. Like, I just told the coach, making my client a coach, what to watch for, and the client understood what to do. Because now there's
brilliant.
I was like, what? It wasn't something I was conscious of doing. I was like, let's just try and see what happens as, like, they're friends, right? So friends get competitive. So I was like, now your friend's being a coach. I'm
it's just
out.
more focus, and maybe also pulling the focus off yourself for a moment. That, like, it just that's kind of brilliant. I love that. Like, and I guess it also speaks to you're coaching something physical with people who learn, visually, orally, tactilely, like, there is all those ways to explore the art of communicating with a person to get them to do, like, the science tells us you want a flat spine that can brace load because it's not bending or flexing, or extending. But, like, how do you get someone to just repeat that simple thing is an art. And
it is.
And I think that the artist has to be so aware of themselves, right? Because if you go down and to do a painting, and you're painting for, I don't know, you're working on this work that has undertones of sunshine, and you come in depressed, I don't think it's gonna be such a sunny painting that day. How do you produce something that's continuous, but is subtle, and maybe the great artists have this reflection in their work that's like, all right, I see this element here and here, but like, it's not all chaos, and I think that's maybe the maturity as a coach too, but it's probably maturity as a client. I don't know.
I agree. I think it's a mixture of both. When I used to run boot camps a long time ago, just a bunch of yelling random stuff out, like, get fired up, let's go. And I was like, I look back now, I'm like, what did that really do? I mean, it did help. It got people to move better, somewhat. It got them to move, period. Got them off their ass and made them do things they never thought they could do. But in terms of moving better, I don't know how well I did there. Come on.
But what's interesting is, on the complete other side, I've never tended toward firing people up. I've always tended toward, like, graphic detail of getting all the little details in and looking for perfection and
getting fired up about a cue.
Right.
Yeah.
But I didn't really get so fired up as I just got so intricate, and I think that I lost the ability along the way to kind of let them swing. To kind of like, all right, I'm going to give you this grip on your golf club. Now I want you to hit 50 balls. Let them swing. I want you to work on this chew it over. I want you to let them swing. Like, and it was like, if I wanted to fix something and the rep did something else, I would try and recorrect it before I let them feel through it, right? Like you still have to let them. They have to let them do it. They have to let them succeed. And so there's kind of like not giving any detail, and then there's too much detail, and then there's like there's just letting them swing and feel it out, and then there's it's just extracting more. And how do you do that? And
I battle with that. I definitely.
And then you do that all day for people, like, with such a passion, and then you come out and you're like, I can't get anything out of myself. I suck.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm telling you, do some more bodybuilding.
Yeah,
you can extract something out of yourself at least, and then you wake up the next morning like having just that low grade soreness, not where it's like incapacitating or anything, but you're just like all right, like I feel a little sore. Like, now I actually think I'll do some squats today.
Yeah.
Like, and then at night I'm gonna hit some bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Well, during the day, maybe I'll take 20 minutes and I'll, for me, I mean, do some A skips or, 5-10-5 for you. Maybe it's like let's do some farmer's walk down the street, or, I mean, I'll